Howdy, what's up, y'all? I hope you are doing well. It is Andrew Esquire here, American attorney in right now I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. Air quality not looking good today, looking very spicy air quality today outside here in Bangkok, Thailand. But I am glad to be here with you on the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. So today we're going to get into it. I have a lot to talk about today. We're going to get into the proxy battle. We're going to get into the fight between Iger and Nelson Peltz. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of the proxy statements, some of the things that they have slated to support, oppose, kind of my views on that, kind of unfiltered and raw here on the Legal Mindset. And kind of the only thing, the only place you get my really full opinion. I realize that, you know, I go on a lot of panel shows, but I really don't get a chance to go off and give a deeper analysis on any of those channels, just because, look, it's not my channel. I don't have time to go in on things. I don't have time to go in on things for an hour, 2 hours, like I do here on my channel. So that said, it's also amazing to see everybody here today. And I want to give a shout out to the first person to comment, which is at Aten Alakar was the first person to comment. So congrats on being first on the video on YouTube and over on Rumble. What's up to the folks over there? I imagine it'll get big today, but W. Ralph is the first one to comment, other than my wonderful mod, Danielle. So good to see everybody in the chat today and here hanging out, especially all of the green. And a big special thank you to Is This Live, to Tank Rat, coming in big, helping everybody go green in the chat. Oh, what's up, Blonde Asian? Good to see you. And good to see some OGs in the chat as well, up in the house today. It's always good to see folks that have been on my channel for a while. And we got a $20 super sticker off the gate. Appreciate that, Sheba Leprechaun Gold. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Good morning or good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. So thank you. Thank you. Where do you turn on accept memberships? It's in the settings. It's in the settings. You can also click on when you see the gift in the chat. I believe you can click on that and accept it that way too. All right, so we're going to start out with some light news. As always, I like to start out with some more fun news and then move on later. And real quick, someone in the chat said, is Arch a guest tonight? No, that's a future stream. So I am doing a Warhammer stream that's in the future. It's already set. You can go see that. In fact, I'll just look at my channel here. Because, you know, I love my channel so much. It's so awesome. And we're actually going to talk about one of my former videos here in a second. But I have that live set for next week. So if you look at this, and I'll just share this tab here, you can see, obviously, we're live right now. You can see that. But you can see here that I have my 40K stream over here set for next week. So we'll be talking about Warhammer 40K next week for those that like it. It's been a while. You guys know me. I do my weeb streams. I do my nerd streams. Those are always going to happen, as well as member-only videos, which will continue to happen when we just kind of have a more AMA stream of consciousness talk about a lot of different news items, which aren't necessarily just Disney, right? So it might be some other stuff that's not just Disney. All right. So first news item I wanted to cover today, which is kind of cute, but also not, is that WestJet is retiring its Disney themed plane. Guys, I know there's been a lot of news about planes catching on fire lately. And to me, one of the saddest things is we don't get the opportunity to have this Mickey Fantasia plane blow out a window or have an engine catch on fire. And it just be like the perfect image of like Mickey on fire flying through the air. I mean, I think that would be pretty epic, but of course that is going to be retired. So the Frozen plane, say goodbye to the Frozen plane, say goodbye to the Fantasia plane. Now, of course, these are Boeings. So once again, high likelihood of there being an issue at this point with these planes. And if you guys haven't seen the video of the Atlas flight that caught on fire with the engine fire in Miami, I'd recommend checking that one out. very interesting little video. Okay. Next, I want to discuss kind of an update on my Disney dating app stream. So let me throw this up here. Now, I know you guys see my premieres. I know you guys watch my premieres, but in case you didn't know, I'm pretty sure this is a hoax, and I'll play the video one more time. It's actually fairly cringe. So let's play it through real. Like, I'm just going to play this section of my premiere. This is my premiere on Disney adult dating app and the theme park lifestyle. I am 99.99%. This is it. And then after this, we are going to indeed look at the app and a certain dating profile on the app. It's very interesting. So let's.
Me and my long-term boyfriend know that we meet a lot of our friends online these days.
We have made a ton of friends in the Disney community, a majority of which we have met on Swingers Upon Maine.
Okay, to be very clear, that's not an actual website. Like, to be very clear, that's not the actual website. The actual website is Meet Upon Maine, which we will show you in a second. So this is why I am 99.99% that this is 100% this is almost 100% a troll job, right? It's 100% fake. But the fact that it's believable, I think, is the worst thing. The fact that I could 100% believe this, and the fact that I know that there are people that are into this lifestyle that are using Disney for recruiting, yeah, it's disturbing. And this girl's laugh is disturbing.
This is an app for swingers by swingers. Swingers that love Disney.
Ashley and I love to swing all over Walt Disney World Resort.
I'm gonna
the
boost
Grand
this.
Floridian.
Main Street, USA.
Cinderella's Castle.
Space Mountain. And people love to drink around the world. Well, how about swinging around the world?
It's our favorite.
That laugh, it just kills me. I cannot with that laugh. Hold on, let me play this. 2 seconds. I want to give a big thank you to Burt Macklin on Twitter, who gave me that me shaking my head meme. That one was just really great. So anyways, you can check out the full video, check out me ranting about that. But the reason why I want to bring this up is, guys, I have good news, and I'm really happy because it seems like my dating profile actually worked out. So I went upon Meet Upon Maine, and I created a profile, guys. I created a profile. So here's my profile on Meet Upon Maine. I hope you like my image, because I now have a 51% match. So guys, I'm retiring. I'm retiring with my love here on Meet Upon Maine. I'm done. I'm kind of done here. Anyways, let's read my quick background. My name is Big Bob. I'm 72. I'm non-binary, 6'1", gray hair, brown eyes. If I'm sounding like anybody in specific who may also be 72, 6'1", and named Bob, that's just it's just a mere coincidence, I've also got a Gaston build, because that's the best option here. I'm non-binary, seeing where things go. This is a very much a real website, and you could, if you wanted to, put in all sorts of questionable information here. So that said, if you want to find my profile upon Meet Upon Maine, please slide into my DMs. Please respond. One of my background, it's pretty easy. My background is likes to take 2 showers a day and ruin a blue chip Fortune 500 company. It's great. It's great. Any resemblance to any YouTuber is purely coincidental. I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, that's purely coincidental. It's just live says this is a stream where Andrew introduces us to his pixie duster girlfriend. Yes, it is. Well, sorry guys. All this time, my true match has been from Meet Upon Maine. My 51% match. 51%. I can't even right now. Thank you, Leprechaun Gold, for another $20. Appreciate you so much for the support and the Shivas. Thank you so much. All right. That was a good laugh for me to start out the day. You always have to start out having some fun, guys. If we're not having fun, what the hell's going on? All right. So let's get serious. Let's focus here. Okay. So we're going to get into the Nelson Peltz proxy fight. Very cerebral stuff, right? You got to start out with laughing before you get into the cerebral stuff. So let's give a little bit of the background. I know a lot of people are just ripping right in with the Nelson Peltz video, which we will get to. And we will get to him talking to Kramer the Cuck. That'll happen in a second. But what I want to focus on before we get to that is the Disney response. So the initial Disney response that prompted him to be interviewed and to come out and say the things that he said. Because it's out of context if you're not looking at both. If you're not saying, okay, well, what did Disney say? And why did he push back like that? Why did he take that angle? So that's where we'll start. But we'll start after Is This Live drops 20 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much, Is This Live. And all those that are helped by Is This Live, please say thank you as well to him. And I'll read those names right now. Esh Wedge, Darren, Shade 221, Jason Rosenberger, Floral, Full-Time FM, Lady Muck, Silent Rage 5, Alicia G, Leslie Kohler, Philip Cameron, Jay Dev, Gexon, Tyler, Peggy Cole, Jay Mongoose, let's see, Otto, none your business. All you guys say thank you. And Electrical Glink, you say thank you to Is This Live for hooking you up and making you go green in the chat. So once again, thank you, Is This Live, for coming through for the homies. Also, quick shout out to Rumble over here, and where we've got a good number of people riding out there already. What's up to Jacob Castro, Andrite, Space Radio, all you guys over there on Rumble. Good to see you guys, and make sure you're smashing the like on the way in. We've got about 300 on all the platforms, so that's pretty good for the evening. All right, so let's jump into it with what's going on, what the precedent was, kind of what the background was for this proxy battle, this latest chapter of the proxy battle.
We're watching today. Disney has nominated 12 people.
By the way, this is from Yahoo Finance. Understand Yahoo Finance is they're a bunch of Disney shills. They really take pro-Disney positions. Everything they state is extremely pro-Disney. So just understand with Yahoo Finance, they are 100%. They might as well be official Disney employees because their positions are so pro-Disney. Just understand that. So I will be pausing and translating from shill to English.
People to its board of directors, formally rejecting the ones put forward by Nelson Peltz. The media giant also disclosed CEO Bob Iger's compensation, which doubled in 2023. There you're taking a look at shares pre-market.
So his stock value, the stock that he got went down. So he lost money on his stock compensation because his company's money got cut, but he doubled his actual compensation. So it was like you're doubling your base compensation, but your stock loss value, right? So it's there's a lot going on there with Iger. And once again, mind you, Iger doubled his salary as the stock went down. Just think about that for a second. Someone said the audio is cutting out. Really? Well, it's probably cutting out because I'm pausing it, right? Let me boost the audio again. So this should be up a little bit higher now. Let's play it one more time.
They're down by about 0.7%. What they had mentioned within this is that the board does not endorse the nomination of Nelson Peltz and James Rasulo put forth by Tryon Fund Management. However, of course, some of the notable figures that are the ones that were put forward by the brand, everyone from Lululemon CEO Calvin McDonald. You've got, of course, the GM CEO as well, Mary Barra. And
once again, I love how these people are like, well, you have Lululemon here. What the hell does Lululemon? This guy over here is like, well, you have some notable names like the Lululemon CEO. What does that have to do with media? What does Lululemon at all have to do with Disney? It has nothing to do with Disney. Nothing. So to me, the fact that it's so notable. What's notable about that? What's notable about that at all? How is that relevant? right? And this is why I get mad at these folks, because it's not like you have reporters or analysts or people who are even knowledgeable, even basic common knowledge that the average American would have, who's learned a little bit about corporate responsibility and governance, would know more than this dude, right? It's like they just gave him a laptop, slapped Yahoo Finance on the back, and said, get out there and pretend you know what you're talking about numbers. It's just kind of odd.
And then additionally, Mark Parker, who is one of the noted and famed former CEOs of Nike as well here.
Yes, Uppercut's also among them, CEO of Oracle. You're the former CEO of Morgan Stanley.
Oracle, Morgan Stanley, nothing to do with it, right? It's real, and I like what said in the chat. It's relevant to DEI because it's a woman. Yes, I know, and that's why they put it up there. That's why they say DEI. You know, it's all DEI. It's all representation. I mean, it's much like as even Joe Biden admitted recently, where they changed all the commercials, right, to have different folks and the casting of different folks. They changed that in the last couple of years. It's all intentional. It's all optics, right? Leprechaun Gold, thank you so much for another $20 super sticker. Appreciate you today. And Scorpid says, explain the timeline and actions of a proxy war win. Okay, I'm gonna bank this one, Scorpid, and I'm gonna come back to it. Okay, so this is really important. So I'm gonna bank this. I am gonna answer it. I'm gonna come back to it. So Senpai will notice you once again.
James Gorman, but talking about why Disney is fighting back against Iger and taking issue with him being named as one of the board members here. A couple of interesting points that I wanted to call it here, just in terms of why Disney rejected Peltz's board seat. A couple of things. He did not disclose one strategic idea for Disney. This is according to Disney's board. His assessment of Disney seemed oblivious to the ongoing secular change in the.
What the is an ongoing secular change? Wait, hold on. A secular change? These are the reasons that they're giving for rejecting Nelson Peltz and James Rasulo, right? What the hell is a secular change? Let me rewind this one more time, because I'm not even sure the words coming out of this woman's mouth, if she even knows what they mean. Let's play it one more time.
Here, just in terms of why Disney rejected Peltz's.
So why Disney rejected the board. And once again, they picked the worst people for readers. This woman is horrible at enunciating. It's complete random garbage, or maybe she's great because they don't want you focusing on the details. But let's listen to this one more time.
Board seat. A couple of things. He did not disclose one strategic idea for Disney. This is according.
He didn't disclose because So Iger denied Peltz's nominees, which is Peltz and Rasulo, because they didn't identify a strategic idea for Disney. Wait, what? How about a strategy of making money? Is that a strategy? Like what? What the hell does that even mean? I don't know.
To Disney's board, his assessment of Disney seemed oblivious to the ongoing secular change in the media industry. They also went on to say
his assessment of Disney was oblivious to the secular change. What does that mean? Like, is it because of, are we going like full has-been hotel over here where we're hailing Satan? Like, what's going on right now? Scott Westbrook says, gifted 5 Legal Mindset memberships. What's up? Good to see you. Chiharu Mori, Ariane Diagnalt, Dwayne Johnson, Jim Schuler, and Sir DSR Phoenix. Welcome. You guys say thank you to Scott. Thank you, Scott. So yeah, don't think that makes much sense. Also, Leprechaun Gold just hooks it up. 10 Legal Mindset memberships here in the house today. You guys are coming through big. So Joseph Baum, Charles G, Just Above Gnome, The Consultant, Tibble Trouble, Thane Cawdor, KM Cheesehead. You guys say thank you to Miss Bourne and Emily Larson. Say thank you to Leprechaun Gold. Okay, continuing.
That he doesn't have much experience in media and technology sectors, and also some concerns about how the partnership with Perlmutter, his relationship there. We know that Perlmutter has a very complex past with Iger and with other Disney.
What are you talking about his relationship? I love how they make it sound like him and Perlmutter are like boyfriend and girlfriend here. Like what his relationship with Perlmutter? It doesn't matter what his relationship. Perlmutter is just saying, hey, vote my shares because I want to make money. Like, at the end of the day, Ike Perlmutter just wants to like make money, right? Which is what we should all want in a capitalist world. We should all want companies to make money. When you invest your hard-earned money in a company, you want that company to give you a return on your investment. And you want it to be something that is going to increase in value, not decrease in value. That's a reasonable expectation. And especially when they've promised something, when they promise to deliver and they don't, it's disappointing. It's very disappointing. So I don't think there's any relationship there that they're implying. I mean, I think Bob Iger has some more questionable relationships we should be asking about than Ike.
The executive. So exactly how that is going to impact Peltz's agenda with Disney, with some of the issues that Disney really brought to light in this rejection of Peltz and his proposal should be one of the names nominated to this board. I also want to point out what Bob Iger said in a letter to investors yesterday, just reiterating the vision that he has for Disney, saying that once again.
So I love, this is the key word here. So he wrote a letter to investors highlighting his vision. It's my vision. I feel, I want, but you don't do. The thing is, all of this, oh, well, I would love this. We want this, but it hasn't been done. Iger had plenty of time to do all these objectives, plenty of time to accomplish them, and he consistently has failed to do so. It's a wish list. That a wish list is what Disney is great at. Oh, we can dream of the X, Y, and Z, but it's what do you do? We saw this with Epcot. Right? Epcot was promised to be renovated, to be so amazing and great and fantastic. And certainly they did renovate some things. They did add some new elements. But was it what they promised? No, it was far short. And many of the things that were explicitly promised, they didn't do. That's very par for the course for Disney. Whereas they'll give you this whole beautiful blue sky concept. And then the reality is, well, like a dusty hot dog shed. It's just not the same thing. Hunch, shout out to Hunch dropping the big 2-0. What's up, Hunch? Hope you're doing well, man. Actually, glad you're doing well because I know from talking to you privately, you are doing well. You're killing it out there, and just doing great. Michael Walter, Paul Schuler, Michael Cowling, Inverse Opinion, Theodore Smith, Luke Liederbach, Shell 999, Roy Mendez, Justin Parrish, Taco to them Frosk, Roy Wall. I forgot about Frost. Tech Guy 32, Charles Cruz, Kathleen Moore, Simon B. McLink. Guys say thank you to Hunch. The dirtiest of roofers. He's quite the dirty roofer. He also can drink a lot of whiskey. Not gonna lie. All right, let's continue. Finish this.
And he wants to make the streaming business profitable. Obviously, that has been a top priority for Iger and for the team at Disney.
Okay, sorry, I have to laugh at that. Oh, it's been a top priority. Well, then why aren't you doing it? If making streaming profitable is a top priority, why aren't you doing it? Now, maybe you could argue, and what I'm going to argue for you guys here is they're firing people related to Disney Plus to get those expenses down because they have an expense report on February 7th. So them letting off folks at Pixar that are on the Disney Plus line, right? It lets them do the math and do some Hollywood accounting, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and show that, or try to show that their streaming is more profitable, because this is the whole thing. They're going to try to say, well, look, Iger's trying to work on this, and here's our books, which are totally legit, showing that streaming is profitable. Which, until Nelson Peltz and Rasulo are in there, I wouldn't trust Disney's books worth a shit. They literally had to settle for poor accounting practices, for allegedly in the TSG complaint, for essentially fraudulent accounting practices, which they settled on that case. Just once again, that's a very important point. They settled on that case. Now, they didn't have to admit guilt, but as a lawyer, I'm being real. They're not settling on that case if it's just patently not true. If 0% is true, that's not something they're going to go down and do. So understand that they're already in trouble for that. And one of the allegations in that TSG complaint was that they are taking from Peter to feed Paul. They are doing everything to try to buttress their streaming service. They're doing everything to try to save that. They're taking even line items that should be under parks and moving those over to streaming and vice versa, right? They're trying to put everything they can to make streaming look better. And then they can, for example, make parks look bad and say, oh, it's just a COVID problem. Oh, it's just COVID. It's just a COVID recovery issue, right? And say, oh, that'll be back. Don't worry. They play a very interesting shell game. So Bob Iger, I would watch the books very carefully with Bob Iger. And look, we're not getting that look under the hood until we have folks that are not just Iger yes men, and the CEO of a company, which is probably the result has resulted in a delay in people getting their sets done at the gym as people take those Lululemon ass photos in the gym mirror. Don't do that, guys. By the way, don't do that. Wait till you're done. Go home and do that.
Here over the last several quarters, we've heard about that time and time again during earnings calls, but also turning ESPN into that preeminent digital platform, really elevating what they already have right now, the content that they have at ESPN, transitioning that to the next era of media. And exactly what that looks like is one of the big questions here, one of the big focal points for shareholders. As we know, we're taking a look at that 1 year chart of Disney. We are off the
once again, I love how they'll show a 1 year chart, because like a 1 year chart obviously looks more favorable to them than other particular charts. So yeah, this is something that is a strategic look at them. They're saying, oh, look, they came here and look, they're making a recovery and they could bounce back, but they're still down from almost 200, right? Which this has always been the very disingenuous way that Yahoo Finance does this. And I've called them out on it repeatedly because they do it a lot.
52-week low that we did see back in November, but not too far off. It's still off about 6% in the last 52 weeks. So there is a heck of a lot of pressure on Disney to right size the business. The question, though, is how long.
I don't like that use of the word right size. Like it implies that, oh, well, what he's laying off people and that's like the good thing to do. It's trying to justify the cuts instead of they're in trouble. They need money. And so they're having to cut people.
Is that turnaround going to take to play out?
And how much does Bob Iger continue to make in compensation in that turnaround strategy?
Heck of a lot.
Yeah, well, that's the one, I would say, fair shot they give him at the end, just a little bit, just so they could say, oh, well, no, we made a comment about how much he makes. And that kind of goes with the commie propaganda of, people make too much money, right? So, not too many points there for Yahoo Finance. But that is the precedent, right? So that was the precedent before this Nelson Peltz interview. Now, many of you guys have seen this. I know everybody and their mother has been playing it, or at least playing clips of it. So we are gonna take a look at this and review it from my kind of legal eye here. But let me just say one thing real quick, guys, and this is hashtag not financial advice. But if you ever see a stream or a video that is prominently featuring, let's see, this guy, Mr. Jim Cramer here, you're probably in good hands, hashtag not financial advice, of betting against what Cramer says. You're probably doing all right. Like the reverse Cramer index is a thing. Just saying. $50 to Leprechaun Gold. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate your support. You've been coming through big this chat. So thank you so much for the generosity and for hanging out here today. All right. And also some guy with cancer says, I can't wait for Disney to make my job harder. The accounting tricks are Enron-like, only not as clever or as well hidden. Yes. And actually, so some guy with cancer, you're actually predicting what I'm going to talk about later in this stream. So you're getting way ahead of yourself, way ahead of the stream, but you literally are predicting because, and I'll main screen myself for this. You guys know that I have been thinking about this and kind of structuring my series and future materials I present to you in a way that we are looking at the future potential actions against Disney and lawsuits against Disney. And in fact, one thing I'm looking at is, okay, if you're putting together a shareholder lawsuit, what are you looking at? Well, as I've been doing this thought and research and background, one of the things I keep coming to are the top scandals in US corporate history. So that's what we'll be talking about later, going through some of the greatest hits. Enron, Tyco, Waste Management, WorldCom. Now, we're not going to do all of that today. I just want to introduce you to the concept, because a lot of those concepts, which, you know, people think, oh, it just happened here. It could never happen at Disney. They're too big to fail. They're too iconic. Where have we heard these things before? Right? Where have we heard these things before? All of these companies at one time had a position similar or akin to Disney. They may not be producing cartoons, right, and animation and films, but they were very large American companies which had a similar level of hubris to where Bob Iger is at today. So I think that that's a very fair comparison. Now, of course, is it going to be a one-for-one, exactly the same facts? No, it never is. But it's a series of circumstances and a series of characteristics of people and behavior that is being followed here. If you can kind of smell the sniff test of corporate behavior, you can see that it's gone sour with Disney. That's what my kind of thesis is here today. And you're really, really astute to predict that, some guy with cancer. So appreciate that comment here today. So let's play this. This is the video with Kramer interviewing Nelson Peltz.
Right now, and that's Nelson Peltz, founding partner at Triumph Partners, with a bit of news. So, Nelson, good to see you.
Hey, Jim. How you doing?
All right, let's go right to work. Apparently, you're not happy with the direction of Disney and Bob Iger.
I do feel, by the way, I know it's, I know like the volume's up here, but I really get annoyed that they couldn't like quiet the trading floor noise that's obviously going on in the background. It's very annoying to kind of have that trading floor noise. I do wish they could kind of screen that out, because it does get a little loud. But other than that, just yeah, Kramer, he's so bad.
So you really are going for it. I wanted to get a sense of what you think is fortunate and unfortunate about the current situation at Disney and the board.
First, let me tell you, I want to say good morning to David and to Carl, and thank you for having us here today. You know, today is an important day. We filed our preliminary proxy statement, and we opening our website, which is Restore the Magic. And we did all that, Jim, because we love Disney. You know, we love Disney, and it saddens me that the board didn't welcome me, because our goal is just to work with them, to help them, and to help them make the company better, which frankly we have.
What you might even say, make Disney great again. Mata, maybe a little Mata, a little bit of Mata. I believe this entirely, right? I believe that they want to make money. I mean, look, he's personally got a huge stake in the company. Now, I want to make this clear. Well, I'll make it clear afterwards. I believe he's got about, with the shares, he's got something like a 3% or a 4% stake in the company. But still, for a company that big, that's a huge, that is a significant stake in the company, and it's more than Bob Iger has in the company. It's more than any board member had in the company. So he's got a larger stake in the company than Bob Iger in terms of his own personal finances, the one he's got on the line. So just kind of throwing that out there. Okay, so let's continue here.
Have a history of doing. You know, what was interesting, Jim, is last week we went, 7 of us from Triumph, went to Disney World in Orlando. And it was fascinating because we went not the way board, directors, family, friends go. We didn't have any special passes. We didn't have any tour guides. We didn't have any legs.
By the way, I want to show you just real quick before he goes further here. This is the daily chart. This is actually not even, this is an hourly chart. They're showing you an hourly on Disney. So this is like super. I mean, I know that the show is like a more trading oriented, right? But the point is like this chart is so useless. I don't know why they would show an hourly chart right? And I think it's because they know this is going to get replayed, so they want to show some green, right? Instead of red, they're like, oh, look, Disney's going up. And it's like, this is an hour. This is literally between 8 a.m. and 9:15. Okay. Like, this is the most disingenuous thing to put. Well, the chart they should have put is the 2-year with them going down. Right? They make it look like Disney's going to go to the moon, right? Yeah, somebody said in the chat. Oh, look at this. Disney's going to the moon based on this. No, come on.
The tour guides, we didn't have any leg breakers, pardon me. Didn't have any line breakers, didn't have any leg breakers either. And everybody was nice. I mean, Magic Kingdom.
By the way, they went in Orlando. They did not go in California. Just understand that. So, and by the way, Scorpion says, was that Nelson Peltz or Stan Lee resurrected? I know. He looks a lot like a couple folks. Let's continue. The photos are just like killing me.
And the Hollywood studios were terrific. The people were wonderful. All the employees were smiling, and that's probably in large part because they didn't own any Disney stock. That's the problem here, Jim.
Which, I mean, that, by the way, savage burn there that the employees were happy because they didn't own any Disney stock. Look, I think anybody who is a Disney stockholder would be really pissed off, especially if you bought in at 120, 140, 160, 180, and now your stock is halved. I would be pissed. I would be really pissed. But you're not getting as many stock options as the cast concierge.
This company is just not being run properly. The board oversight is awful. It really is. The park, as I said, certain rides were great, but you can see it's getting a bit long in the tooth. They need more capital invested.
So what he's saying there is that the people are fine, which, okay, the employees may be all right, but it's the investment in the park. And I think those that are being honest, if you are being honest, the real issue is they are funneling capital, and I've said this time and time again, they are funneling capital into the Asian theme parks, into Hong Kong, into Shanghai. They're funneling capital into their cruise lines, particularly their Asian cruise lines out of Singapore, right? They are not funneling money into the American parks. They're actually cutting money back on the American parks, despite the fact that they're one of their most profitable segments. They're cutting funding there, which it doesn't make any sense from a financial standpoint. Okay, if you know this is your moneymaker, why don't you reinvest into your most profitable segment, right? That's something that a fiscally responsible corporation would do. But of course, that's not Disney under Bob Iger.
They need more capital invested now because the competition is getting keener. You've got Comcast opening 500 acres right down the road in 2 years with a brand new park.
Epic Universe, who's talking about Epic Universe. So Comcast, who is a competitor, right, in both media and in the theme parks, is opening Epic Universe. So where's your response to Epic Universe? You've got nothing. They've got nothing coming that is even close to a response to that. Not even an update. The only thing they've done. What, you think Tiana? You think the slave plantation ride is going to be real good on for that? No, of course it's not. It's not going to bring the boys to the yard. It's not going to happen. Like what? They're talking about replacing parts of Frontierland. They're talking about retheming Frontierland to some new woke theme. Okay, we think that's going to bring people in. You think if you make it Wishland, that's going to bring people in? No, it's not. Nobody cares about that. We just talked on the D files with Alan. Or are they going to make it Raya Land? No. That would fail completely. No one would come to see that.
They're also opening parks in Chicago, opening a park in Texas. Not Chicago, Las Vegas. And this is where all the value today in the stock price resides.
But Nelson, I understand from the background to the solicitation, you had as many as 20 meaningful interactions with the board. Why is that not enough?
I love that question. You had 20 meaningful interactions, and I love how you had to read that off a script. By the way, Kramer is looking like, look at Kramer. He looks like he's like, I don't know what this guy's on, but he's not looking good. Like Kramer is not looking good. Let me turn off the closed caption so you can see him. He's looking kind of rough. But like, what the fuck is a meaningful interaction? What is that? Bob Iger answered his email? Like no, Bob Iger told him that he was going to do things and he didn't do them. That's not a meaningful interaction. If someone says, oh yeah, we're going to pay you on Tuesday and they don't pay you, that's not meaningful. That's worthless. That's a worthless interaction. It's weasel words that don't mean anything. So, I mean, to me, once again, it's the dishonesty of Jim Cramer. And it always shocks me how audacious these folks can be, especially Jim. Is This Live says the funny thing is you could reasonably argue that the biggest reason that Disney's stock has climbed back from 79 is Nelson Peltz buying stock. No, actually, I think the value of the stock right now reflects a proxy battle, which is actually a bump. I think if this thing does not end up in some way resolving in favor of Peltz, I think there could be a dump because people will see it as Iger not caring about the stock price, right? Because the whole push here is that it is Iger's agenda over the stock price. So if Peltz ultimately doesn't get on the board, I think it continues to slide. I mean, I think the bear trend continues. Of course, this is definitely not financial advice, 100% not financial advice. But that's just my my off the cuff thought. But I mean, certainly, yeah, there's a lot of buying that's been going on with Peltz recently. So obviously he's tried to get as many shares as possible. That's objectively true. Tim Riggs says Jim Cramer is a bad joke and has been for 30 plus years. Yeah. And I think around the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis, he pretty much memed himself into oblivion, except for the fact that they decided to keep him around. It's very sad. Let me continue here.
Come on, Jim. You know as well as I. When you're on the board, you have a vote. People need to listen to you. Management need to hear your position. They offered me to come on board last year as a visitor, a guest visitor on occasion. That's not going to do it. We've been around this stuff forever. I think
a guest visitor is not a board member. Like, oh, you're a guest visitor and you like come, talk with the board. Like, you don't have a vote. You don't have the ability to look into anything. You don't have the ability to investigate. It's just not the same. It's not the same thing at all. Adam Wolford says, what would really screw with Disney? If Comcast opens the Avatar, The Last Airbender in Epic Park, it would be a middle finger to Disney. I think the biggest thing that will be just them being successful. I mean, go with Pokemon. Right? If Pokemon opens in Epic and they really get Pokemon as a section, it is RIP. Or if they retheme Islands of Adventure, the Mystic Island area, if that's rethemed to Zelda, and then you get Pokemon, it's over. If you get Zelda in Islands, you get Pokemon in Epic, it's done. I mean, it's GG. It's over. I mean, they got Harry Potter, Pokemon, Zelda. It's done. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, you can't fight that. Disney does not have IP to fight that. And Pokemon Land will just print money like it's insane. That'll just be over. Especially if you can do interactivity, especially if you can catch Pokemon there. It's done. Adam Wolford says, you know what really screw with Disney? If Comcast opens the Avatar, The Last Airbender park in Epic Park. Oh, sorry, I got that one already. My bad. Let's play this again.
We've been on more boards than any company in the world, and we've gotten unbelievable results, and we did it at the end of the day without breaking any glass. I mean, think about it. Even the proxy fights, the CEOs stayed on. They worked with us. some became advisory partners to us. This is after a Proxy fund.
Yeah,
David Taylor
Nelson,
said the most wonderful things about us. Look what the stock did. I mean, that stock for 10 years stayed around in the 70s. We got on the board. It went from the 70s to 160. Come on.
So what he's saying is that not only is the stock going up, but he also said there real quick that, look, for Iger, I know Iger is really worried about his legacy, right? Which is one of the issues here. And one of the reasons why I think, Iger came back, because he's worried about his legacy and his impact at Disney and all that sort of crap. But, Peltz said, look, we weren't trying to get rid of Iger tomorrow, but he should have a succession plan to let go of this company and stop trying to intervene to protect his version of Disney, right? The kind of woke, big acquisition version of Disney. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. And clearly Iger does not care about profitability at all whatsoever. So that was what was going on there with that video. And a lot of folks have reviewed that video. And I think that video is very important because it shows us that he's not going to back down right now. In fact, because of the first video, which is relevant to Iger's reasons, Iger gave a bunch of bullshit reasons as to why they were not letting them on the board. He responded. He said, nope, we want to make money. We're in this. Now we're in for real battle, right? And so going back to what Scorp had said, explain the timeline and actions of a win. Well, here's one of the most important things, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Even if they don't win, what is very deadly is what they're going to do over the next few weeks, which is dropping this white paper, right? So they're going to drop a very, very dense white paper over the next coming weeks, giving a full case of why they should elect these two folks. So I'm going to look forward to that. Definitely will review that. I feel like it's going to be the corporate version of the CFTOD audit, except for without as much openly criminal behavior. If you remember the CFTOD audit, that exposed a lot of what Reedy Creek was doing as improper and in many cases even potentially criminal. I think the white paper could be close. I think it could be very close. It could talk about a lot of stuff that is very close to naughty going on in the world of Disney. So I very much look forward to that and look forward to reading about that in that white paper when they drop that. So that's one of the biggest elements. Of course, you also have the February earnings call. And what will be very interesting is on the earnings call, what they try to gas up and what they try to talk about. And also, mind you, with the earnings calls, they have to be very careful because remember, they're being sued on what they say in these earnings calls. And if Bob Iger makes another big misstatement about Disney Plus, about Hulu, about profitability, you can guarantee that not only may it be used in a separate shareholder lawsuit, but also Nelson Peltz is going to use it against them. So whatever statements they make are going to be scrutinized in that earnings call. And then after that, we'll have the actual following that and following the release of the white paper, we'll have the vote later on in the spring. So understand that's where the timeline is at. This is a multi-month thing. This is not something that gets resolved tomorrow. And it's not something that ends up in Nelson Peltz filing a lawsuit tomorrow. But could there be a lawsuit? Certainly. Before I go too far here, I do want to get this one locals chat because I do love my locals people. This is from Xander's Rant for a Buck. It says, are you going to make account for Jeff in his upside down pineapple shirt? No, I don't. I don't make any excuses for Jeff or any of the shirts he wears. I feel like Jeff is like the John Lasseter of LawTube. He just kind of has a bunch of funky stuff going on. But we still love him. Peltz says in a CNBC interview, he and Rasulo will be like the Batman and Robin if they get elected. So saying they're going to be the ones to speak up. So Disney and its investors are going to hear a lot from Nelson Peltz. In the coming weeks, Peltz's Trian Fund Management plans to post on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, and add content to its website, restorethemagic.com. as a crescendo to launching a dense white paper explaining its case to add Peltz and former Disney chief Jay Rusulo to the Disney board. So just so you know, you guys can already follow that, and I was interested to see who had followed it and who had not, because not everybody had been following it. But the account over here is Restore the Magic. Lorena Creole and Sci-Fi for Me follow, but not everybody's on board with this. This is the official, I believe this is the official one, here, which has been posting some facts over here and some posts over here about Disney, like who has sold more than $1 billion in Disney stock? Bob Iger. Right? So Bob Iger is the one who sold. He doesn't own, he's sold. Then you look at the board. This is a very damning look, which is in that underneath the board members, they've been there for 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. Disney has underperformed the S&P, underperformed the S&P by 160 plus percent. Negative 160 plus, negative 167, negative 112, negative 92, negative 88, negative 60, negative 26. All of these folks, they've oversaw a Disney that is failing, that it is underperforming. That's a pretty damning, to me, that's a very damning graphic. So, and yeah, people mentioned in the chat, Bob Iger dumped the stock he ruined. Yep. In February, Triumph plans to meet with Proxy solicitors Glass Lewis and ISS, after which it will begin lobbying shareholders through March and up to Disney's planned shareholder meeting. Triumph expects the gathering will be in April. The last annual meeting was in April. So that's the timeline. So back to Scorpid, when you asked the timeline, right? The timeline is April there. So what up to April, we're going to need to see a lot of heat put on Disney, a lot of heat and a lot of scrutiny, which, look, us on YouTube, we've been covering this for 2 years. We've been covering for a variety of reasons. My primary reason for covering Disney at first did not start out to be just their corporate stuff. It was mostly related to Reedy Creek because I have personal experience, personal relationship in a way with the shadiness, the seediness of Reedy Creek. That is something that I knew very well, but I am also very familiar with corporate law. I served as an in-house counsel, so I'm happy to cover the more broad corporate issues that start to look a little Enron-y when you look deeper at Disney. So when we look at what may be coming out, I think a lot of the corporate corruption may be coming out over the next couple months. And I think that could lead to a win here. And a win can be that, look, the majority of the folks that vote, because remember, not everybody that owns Disney stock is going to ultimately vote their shares and vote at the meeting. Not everybody who has stock ends up voting. But it could be possible that Triumph could receive a majority vote and could end up winning. It's very possible they can end up getting their folks on the board. So Triumph filed, and if they don't, by the way, if they don't, I believe they'll be well positioned for a shareholder lawsuit that they can file on, let's say they do the meeting on April 3rd, they can file on April 4th. And I am going to, in the months coming up, and as this thing builds up, I am going to, let's say, assist in drafting this so that when they're ready to file it, if they ever want to turn on YouTube and check out A Humble Lawyer, they've got plenty of information as a way to file a claim against Disney, because that's the only way to get that money out. Look, if Disney is not going to agree to make changes in order to improve their stock value, improve their company value, then the only way to get your money is to sue. The only way is a lawsuit. The only way is a lawsuit. That'll be the only thing to do. So if they don't get their shit together by April, I think they've got to file something. That's just my personal opinion. So that's a lot of action for a $2 super chat, but I give a lot of value. Triumph filed a preliminary proxy report, which we're going to look at. which outlines some of the reasons Peltz believes Disney shareholders should elect him and Rasulo to the board as they push to boost its stock performance. Those include getting Disney to streaming profit margins of 15 to 20% by 2027. Remember how Iger said that they rejected Peltz because he doesn't have set standards? This is a very clear standard here. A 15 to 20% margin, wanting a 15 to 20% margin, that's a very clear standard. It's an obvious standard. So that, like this, I don't know what they're talking about. No objection. This is very clear. It's Netflix-like. It's coming towards Netflix. Disney's streaming business currently loses money and won't even break even until later this year, Bob Iger said. And we don't even know if that's true because of their Hollywood accounting. But you know what's not Hollywood accounting? Smashing that like button, guys. If you could just go ahead and just smash that like button. It's free. It's free. No Hollywood accounting on that. We're almost at 250. We're at 220. Let's get to 250. Smashing is totally legitimate. Trian wants Disney to be more transparent with his business. Disney plans to launch a direct-to-consumer ESPN service, which they were almost sued over. They had to settle, remember, with the linear services, with the cable companies, because they were trying to screw over cable companies and make them buy ESPN, even when they were already paying for it. But they ended up having to settle on that. Or in 2025 as the sports network's traditional cable subscription model fades. Before it debuts, remember, ESPN was allegedly one of their most profitable elements, but yet they do pump a ton into that. A ton into that. Ting Reeves says, I'll gift you subs if you get to 250. All right, guys, you got to get to 250. We're almost there. We're at 248. Come on. We got to get those. Let's get those subs. Let's get those subs. We're at 248, 249. Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it. Just a tip. And 250. And thank you, Tim Riggs, for the 20 as we get to 250. Appreciate you. And also, guys, say thank you to Tim Riggs, Benjamin Lewis, Joseph Brown, The Crossing, DMV Trek Sci-Fi Chick, Jenny, Birdman Burr, Solid State Citizen, Casey Kerr, Casanova, Brian Young, Greg Lloyd, Chuck, Steve Brown, Peter Kuhlman, Ian Carrolls, Evan Feist, and Drew Deerschlecht, and Joe, just simply Joe. Guys, say thank you to Tim, hooking you up with that flood of green. Let's continue. Peltz said what is really needed is accountability. After its earnings report, Disney released its definitive proxy materials. You know we're going to go over those. Typically, both Trian and Disney will make their argument to proxy advisory services Glass & Lewis and ISS, followed by solicitation of shareholders and recommendations by the firms. That advice is critical because it can sway large investors and index funds. Neither side usually knows who's winning until days or hours before the annual meeting, because those massive investors often vote late in the process. So this is very, very true. Trian has targeted the Disney board for being too connected to Iger, who has 5 times renewed his contract to push back his retirement. He said he plans to leave Disney in 2026 and has been actively seeking a successor since he returned to Disney. He's full of shit. We all know that. This guy is going to be in that seat till you take him out. He's going to be there like Skeletor. Tim Riggs says, let's keep the eye of Sauron fixed on the mouse. Absolutely. I got both eyes of Sauron on the mouse. And I'm not letting up because, guys, I think this is, when we look back at this era, I really think this is going to be a modern day Enron-like situation, or Lehman Brothers, they were too big to fail. Who saw it coming? And I feel like Michael Burry. I feel like the Michael Burry of Disney. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I really think people are like, oh, you're being crazy, you're being hyperbolic, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm understating it, frankly, because we don't even know the depths of how deep things go. Right? How deep the rat hole goes. rat emojis in the chat. We don't know how deep the rat hole goes. We have no idea how deep the rat hole goes. So yes, the ISR will be fixed. We are not going to let up, and we're not going to stop. And I'm going to be covering all of it, legal and to an extent corporate, because that's also something I'm really interested in covering. It to me is fascinating. Peltz has been on several boards, including Procter & Gamble, Mondelez, and which have named new CEOs. Peltz and his success in finding top executives is why he should join Disney's board. I do a lot of executive searches. I'm like a headhunter. So he's saying he would help them find a new CEO. While Peltz outlined he feels Disney's stock's performance can improve with his presence, he's just one person. Even if Rasulo is elected, that's only two voices. He said two voices are sometimes what's needed to start conversation. We're going to be like Batman and Robin. Boards can get turned around quickly if they start to hear good points. So that was kind of the transcript from talking to Peltz. And let me make sure I'm all caught up here. I think I'm caught up mostly. And also on Rumble, good to see over there people saying Kramer's melting and math is racist. Yes, math is very, very racist. So if you guys can see, obviously, I would suggest going to the Restore the Magic account on X and following that. But more, I think even more importantly is following their website. So it's back up at restorethemagic.com, Tryon Partners. You can see it here. So I wanted to go through this and some of the proxy statements today. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to my good friend, Jonas Campbell. He did a correction because he had previously stated that Tryon owned almost 10%, but he did correct that Tryon owns 3.5%. So he did issue a retraction, a clarification, a correction that they own about 3.5%, or rather are accounting for 3.5% of the shares of Disney. So that's what they're controlling and voting personally without getting anybody else to vote for them. So without convincing a single other person to vote, they have 3.5%, right? That's actually a lot. That's actually a lot. Some people say it's more, it could be more, and you know, it's possible. There's other information or data that's going to come out that show they own more, but that was just a very quick clarification there. And once again, 3.5%, still a massive number of a huge corporation. Yes, they've got to get more people on board. They've got to convince large parties to vote if they want to win. But is that possible? Certainly, yes. Certainly, yes. Somebody asked if I'm going to do the next special district meeting. Oh, let me bring that up real quick. I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I looked at the agenda for the next meeting. There is a CFTOD meeting that is coming up on the 24th. I am probably not going to do that one because it looks rather boring. Now, what I might do is we might do like a review of the comment period, because if that Disney Defender guy gets up, it's going to be an absolutely cucktastic time and be absolutely hilarious. But if you look at the agenda, which I'll show you guys right here, this is for the meeting on the 24th at 9:30 a.m. It's mainly management reports, information reports, contract renewals, which are all pretty standard here, and then a resolution on the district adopting paid parental leave policy. I mean, that's nothing groundbreaking, nothing huge, right? So no, there's nothing in here that on its face is a big issue. So what might be the most interesting is the Disney Defenders and weirdos in the comments. So I'll probably end up catching this a little bit later and then like reviewing the public comment period. Or what we'll do is we'll just review the comment period and then we'll go to having a regular show. This would of course be a morning show because it's 9:30 a.m. So, you know, if I'm streaming on that day, which I probably will be, it'll be a morning show. So just be thoughtful of that. But that is coming up next week. So you know your boy Andrew's going to be on top of that. All right, back to Restore the Magic. So over here you've got Trian believes Disney is the world's greatest entertainment company, but it hasn't performed for shareholders. So it's got the potential, but it's not doing what we want it to do, which is pretty typical position that they put themselves in when they get into these proxy fights, when they get into these situations. We want this beloved company to live up to its potential for shareholders and generations of Disney fans. Trian beneficially owns, which means they have the right to vote, $3 billion approximately in Disney, and believes the board needs true independent directors. Their nominees, Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo, want to restore the magic. Look at this graph. Look at this. This graph is mind-boggling. Disney shareholders and fans are not feeling the love. Trian loves Disney, but Disney leadership loves its fans. But does Disney leadership love its shareholders and fans? Over the past decades, the shareholders would have been much richer if they'd invested in the S&P or in Disney's self-selected media peers. So I wanted to check out what those media peers are. And when you click on that, you can see people like Comcast, right? So these are all folks that are, Paramount, Comcast, people that are in positions that are similarly situated with Disney, that Disney compares themselves to. And these are Disney says these are their competitors. So their competitors are making 440%. The S&P made 208% and Disney made 40%. This is horrible. This to me comes off as like breach of fiduciary duty just on its face. Like, you have to try to underperform by that much. You have to try to do that. This is like you worked really hard to keep your value this bad. That's real bad. Tim says, keep educating us unwatched masses of deplorables who are going to get the First and Second Amendments, Andrew. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I'm going to continue to talk about that and teach proper law on the First and Second. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. That's not stopping anytime soon. So they underperformed there. Look, you even have a comment from frickin' Kramer. Even kooky Kramer said Nelson Peltz can be a change agent because right now the Disney board seems downright unfocused. And then you've got an Elon quote here, which I think is golden. A quote from Elon on January 18th. They literally just updated this. They said, brutal track record. Shareholders have been incredibly poorly served by the Disney board. So they pretty much straight up said, Elon, Kramer, getting those quotes out there. Great quotes to drop in there. And thank you guys for supporting the stream. I appreciate when you guys give me some love. I thank you. It really helps me out. It makes me feel good over here in the chat. Also makes me feel good to know that there's 400 people in the chat and we have almost 300 likes. So another 33 likes or another 23 likes. My math is not so good. And math is racist. So, 23 more likes and I'll be a very, very, very happy man. So Disney board needs focus, alignment, and accountability. Trian believes the root cause of Disney's underperformance is a board that is too closely connected to a long-tenured CEO and too disconnected from shareholders' interests. So a board that is too closely connected to the long-time CEO, they're calling Bob out directly. They're saying the board is Bob's bitch. This is a very polite way to say that all of these people, all these board members are just Bob Iger shills, right? And they're disconnected from shareholder interests. So let's look at this. All of these guys, this is the chart we saw before, they have lost money under Disney. Disney has underperformed while they've been there for 6 years, 8 years, 5 years, 2 years a year. All of them, Disney's underperformed. And this one is great. Who is actually invested in Disney? The aggregate non-management directors. So all of the non-management directors, 14 million. Bob Iger, 19 million. Nothing. 3 billion. 3 billion. They've got almost no stock compared to Trian. It's the size of their interest. And once again, it's, do they have skin in the game? If you look at people and you say, do they have skin in the game? Bob Iger does it because Bob Iger sold $1 billion, $1 billion in company stock since 2005. He owns approximately 19 million. So almost nothing comparatively. But even at his peak, he still didn't own as much, right, as they own right now. Crystal Herr from CNN Business said Disney over the past year has struggled mightily with a surprising number of flops, declining among massive losses in its streaming business. Nelson Peltz is looking for a turnaround. Yes. Triumph believes the Disney board needs highly qualified, truly independent directors whose interests align with shareholders. So they give their bios here of Peltz, in his CV. They give Rasulo's CV. They give Trian's CV. And then they give these proxy statements. So that's what I'm going to look at. We're going to look at in 1 second. But before we do that, let's finish here with these criteria, which is the different issues. This kind of reminded me when I was looking at it of the list of issues that Florida gave for RCID. It's eerily similar in a way. But if you look at this, acknowledged issue, corporate governance, Disney's current path. So what Disney is doing right now and what Iger is doing right now, preserve the status quo as much as possible by playing defense, evidenced by limited changes to compensation and succession processes. So essentially preserve the Iger legacy. That's all that they do from a corporate governance standpoint. Trian says adopt best-in-class governance, finally complete a succession, align management, pay with performance. So literally, they were giving bonuses to Bob Iger as the stock was falling. Is that pay for performance? No, it's horrible. Streaming profitability. Focused on achieving significant and sustained profitability, but they haven't put any guidance or targets. 0 targets that are tangible. Nelson Peltz says he wants to be targeting and achieving Netflix margins of 15 to 20%. Now, look, whether or not they can do that is up in the air. This is super up in the air. They could do that. I think the way they could do that is by collaborating. I think Disney could be profitable by collaborating with different platforms and coming together to have the everything streaming service. So by coming together and having the everything streaming service, or rather it being, some sort of amalgamation of everything but what's on Netflix. So it's like there's the Netflix package and then there's the everything else package. And there's really only 2 options. There's 2 or 3 options for streaming. I think that's much better than a world where we have 20, 30, 50 streaming options. It's getting stupid. It's going back to cable days. Thank you, some guy with cancer, for joining as a member of BLM, the highest level of my membership. No, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the RPG members, those that are catching the replays and hanging out with me day to day. But the base legal mindset, you guys are numero uno. So thank you for joining, some guy with cancer. Appreciate you. All right, the future of ESPN. Build ESPN into the preeminent sports platform, lacking a tangible business plan or defined cost. In fact, we found out that they're actually trying to sell off ESPN because they're desperate for cash and desperate for money. So they're actually trying to look into that. And then Trian wants to commit to a reasonable defined payback period and return profile on ESPN flagship DTC and communicate it in detail prior to launch. Studio creativity, improve the output and economics of our films in studios. Literally, that's their goal. Board-led review of imagine this, a board review of the creative process and structure to restore leadership and reclaim #1 box office position. Guys, can you imagine if they looked into the creative process? What did we just talk about with Alan yesterday? We talked about the fact that they are the creative process. The secret is that they have put all these people in these creative positions that are not creatives. They are propagandists. They are feminist propagandists. They're WEF propagandists. They're activists. They want to put a very specific message in everything. And increasingly, as the older folks retire and go away, and the activists pretty much completely take it over, we've seen the quality drop and drop and drop, and the returns have dropped and dropped and dropped along with them. So because we see that, imagine if the board was looking at these folks and looking at their CVs and saying, why are you putting a Mexican director to direct something that has no experience directing a movie about Southeast Asia, right? Why are you why are you putting these folks in positions that they're not qualified for? Why do you put actors in positions that are not appropriate for them? Why do you change the stories from the classic story that you know will make money? Why don't you just keep it a classic story? Why do you have to change things? Why do you have to make everything different, right? Let's look at Splash Mountain. Do we really have to redo that? I'm just saying. Speaking of which, Parks and Experiences says right now, strategically investing in our experience business to turbocharge growth. That means nothing. Execute on a clear vision for parks, targeting at least a single high digit, so meaning 9% operating income growth to ensure adequate returns on $60 billion of capital expense. So you want to have a consistent growth that goes along with your capital expense. And that's what they're looking for. So that's the website. Now, one thing I want to point out on these proxy statements, and real quick, the proxy statement here, this is one of the preliminaries. This gave kind of similar data. This was something they put out on the 18th. The Triumph files their preliminary proxy statement. This is very similar data to what you see, what we've seen before, which is Disney is underperforming its peers over 10 years. You can see it's significantly below. And also these acknowledged goals, right? The issues and the goals. But then here you have the actual, and this is like the nitty gritty legal document, the preliminary copy, right? This is the proxy statement of the Triumph Group. And one of the things I was paying attention to was the votes and what they wanted you to vote for. And you kind of have to scroll down and get to the actual ballot itself to see, okay, what are they actually asking you to vote for, not vote for, and support. So what you can see, especially when you go down and look at the other matters to be considered, is they're not just asking for approval. They're not just asking for approval of Nelson Peltz and Rasulo. This meeting also has agenda items on that meeting, which are super important. And actually, I believe that Nelson Peltz hasn't looked closely enough at the books and hasn't thought closely enough about some things they need to change, because they have certain proposals that are going to be put forward at the annual shareholder meeting that Trian gives their opinion on whether to vote for or against. And for example, this first one here, which I really want to get into, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, PricewaterhouseCoopers, remember when we watched the video of the accounting internship, the internship experience where they went to the park? They got like Mickey Mouse shaped cookies. They did nothing accounting or auditing related, and they were just having fun. This was the PricewaterhouseCoopers interns. Well, one of the things they want them to do is they want them to ratify the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as the auditor for 2024. But here's the thing, guys. PricewaterhouseCoopers has been the auditor consistently since 1938, has never been bid out. Now, Trian says you should vote for this, But I think Trian, if they knew that PricewaterhouseCoopers and their negligence could end up getting, and their potential negligence could end up getting Disney in big trouble, and the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on with Reedy Creek, which I think, frankly, Nelson Peltz may not know about or may be willfully not paying attention to. I think that there's a lot of suspect stuff going on with PricewaterhouseCoopers. So this could be something where they don't know, or in the alternative, they want to turn a blind eye to it. So it's not a perfect. So look, them coming in here, people say, if Nelson Peltz comes in, is everything fixed with Reedy Creek? No, it's not. It's not. Right. And to me, when I was reading through this proxy statement and I saw this, I thought this is going to be an issue, because Reedy Creek is still going to be an issue even if Nelson Peltz takes over, right? Even if he takes over. And sorry, guys, somebody said they're Mickey Mouse shaped pretzels. I got to correct my statement. I stand corrected. So they wanted them to vote for that. Now, what they didn't want them to vote for, and what they're against, is they do not want them to vote for additional executive compensation. So they think that Disney's compensation program does not align with the interests of the company's executives, with the owners and shareholders. So they are against voting for allowing additional compensation for Disney executives. So they believe that, look, the S&P rose and Disney dropped, right? So they do not deserve to be rewarded for that. That's something we should be rewarding them for. They also do not support the stock incentive program, right? So they want them to vote against that. So those are very interesting proposals, which when you look carefully, you're like, oh, okay, this is something that is making more sense. And this circles me back to some of what I was talking about, which is some of these financial scandals. Jay said long-term capital management was another financial scandal worth covering. All of these scandals, right? There's scandals that have been huge. Many of you guys, I don't know if you know about all of these. Waste management, right? 1998. I think people forgot about that. This is a huge one. I think waste management may end up being a very analogous case to Reedy Creek. And I'll get into that in a separate video going into detail, but there's so many scandals. You, of course, had Enron, you had WorldCom, you had Tyco, HealthSouth, Freddie Mac, AIG, Lehman, Madoff, Satyam. But like, I think especially when you go to like Tyco and waste management, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. And the good news is, look, with all of those accounting issues, because all those firms I mentioned, those were all accounting scandals. And look, I'm no accountant. That's how I bring in Mexican Iron Man. He does the lawn and my books. You know, he's a great resource, like a very, very great resource. But that's where the real scandal is going to come in. That's where the real money is going to hit. And imagine if there's a Republican in the office in late 2024, that is probably the worst thing, because where are you going to get hit? And the big thing is when the SEC, when the Security Exchange Commission comes in, right? That's when you get hit. And when those investigations roll, you get hit with the huge lawsuits. In this case, $457 million settled in a class action lawsuit for waste management. So what I'm saying is, could a similar thing happen to Disney? Oh, yes, absolutely. It's very possible. Tim Riggs says, as someone who provides B2B services for the company I work for, I can promise that the acquisition of major logos and brands is a big deal because of the potential opportunities to acquire smaller ones as part of your business. Yes, that is very true. That is very true. And also there's, sort of a point where, and this is what happened with several companies, in fact, famously WorldCom, right? WorldCom in a way reminded me of Disney in the sense that WorldCom got greedy. WorldCom was acquiring. So WorldCom was was just acquiring different companies, right? They kept acquiring, and a lot of their growth was due to their acquisitions. Look at Disney. A lot of their growth and success was due to acquiring Marvel, acquiring Star Wars, and the potential behind those IPs. But now when you look at it and they fall off, what happens? They panic, they get extreme, and they start doing weird things with the book. Speaking of which, Mexican Iron Man says, great, when I tune in, I'm in bed, and the first thing I hear is rehiring of the PwC audit asshats. You endorse legal mindset analysis. 100%. F Iger, go Peltz. Yeah, we got to, Mike, I'll have you on again. I want to get you on specifically to talk about accounting scandals. And when we talk about, because you know a lot of history about these, you are an actual accountant, you know how to do, the books, to talk about that and some things that we might be concerned with Disney that we see kind of, not maybe evidence yet, it hasn't been entered into court, but we see certain facts that lead us to believe there may be things going on with Disney that are suspect, that are very suspect. But I look at, for example, Waste Management and what went down with Dean Buttrock, and they had to pay out that huge lawsuit. But guess what? Eventually with Waste Management, what happened to the stock? Look at the stock price. This is the Waste Management stock price. And by the way, this is in Thai years. They use the Buddhist calendar. You have to add 500 plus years. So it's a little, I know the years are off, right? But you see here that from the scandal, which happened in 2002 or 2000s, right? So they went from about somewhere $15 to $20, $25, all the way up to 184. So you can recover. Your company can recover even from a large scandal. And what I would say for Disney, and what I would hope for Disney, because I love Disney, I want them to be back to their former glory. I think that it's possible that a Peltz or a dedicated board could turn them around even after they go through a massive scandal, potential SEC shenanigans and everything else. I think they could turn it around. I really do believe that. I really do believe they could become a massive company, but perform well. But they've got to start being concerned about profitability. And another thing they should be concerned about, which I think they're very under concerned about, we are going to continue to focus on, is these bonds, right? People have gotten in massive trouble for less. And when they have almost $1 billion in outstanding bonds that they've been leveraging for the past 40 years, 50 years, there's a concern here and a huge risk, and a risk that this could blow up into a massive scandal. That one right there with the bonds almost reminds me of the way Tyco, the company Tyco, was taking out loans to pay for houses that were being bought by their CEOs. It's not one-to-one, but it almost is. They were taking a loan from the government, from Reedy Creek, to pay for things that were Disney. And Don, I want the bondholder lawsuit better than anybody else. The bondholder lawsuit, I'm sitting here like this for that. I'm sitting here like this for the bondholder lawsuit. And I plan on covering this more and more and more, and also doing more streams where I just really focus on where I feel like, based on the current evidence, we have violations in the bonds. But frankly, guys, I never have really talked about this, but whenever I would go over bond documents, that would take me 30 to 40 hours a week, right? It was a lot of work, like each series of bonds. So when I was working issuing municipal bonds, right? Let's say, let's talk about this, like this Series A, right? Just to issue this Series A, I might have 30 to 40 hours of work just to read the document, not even drafting, just of reading the documents, checking them up, doing due diligence. Like that was like a week for me, because we took it so seriously in everything having to be accurate. So there's a lot of work that goes into these documents. There's lots of documents. There's lots of pages. So it's a lot to go through them. So it will take me some time to go through everything, but I do plan on really going in on these bonds and really showing where they have a massive risk factor on some of their previous disclosures. I think not even the CFTOD has done that yet, because it's such a massive job. Fortunately, your boy here is on it, and your boy has done it. So I am happy to go hard on the mouse. Speaking of hard, though, we got 420 people in the chat and almost 350 likes. Also, 76 new members today. Thank you so much to all those new members and to those that supported and dropped memberships. Leprechaun Gold, Tim Riggs, Is This Live? All you guys, Hunch, Scott Westbrook, all you guys for donating. You're absolutely fantastic, and you help me do this day to day. I couldn't do this without you guys. I really could not. Because your support allows me to do this day in, day out. Let's see. I think, yes, that's what I had for today, guys. Over there on Rumble, make sure you got Smash the Pussy over there as well. I am going to try to be back tonight in some way, shape, or form, even if I do a more relaxed stream. So that's your next morning. But I will definitely be back for that. So catch me there. And until next time, guys, stay based, have fun, and I will catch you later. Peace.